Improving at estimating slope is key to making more putts, and an efficient way to get better at it is by doing field slope test. This can be done by first going into putting, then green reading, followed by sensors, and here we have field slope test. Before you start test, you have to first set up two things. The number of reads you want to do in the test. I normally go with 8, as if we do less than this, we won't get all of the statistics for the test, as the sample size isn't big enough to draw any meaningful conclusions about it. Then you have to decide whether to do a field-based test or visually estimating the slope. This way you can keep your statistics separate for the two different methods if you want to do an objective analysis for which method works best for you. Then you can press start. The first thing you do in the test is pick a random position on the green. Then you try to estimate the slope. Remember to type in a negative sign for putts breaking left to right. Then you can press enter. Then you place the phone on the green with the arrow pointing forward. Press measure, and you see a color-coded message with your misread and the actual slope at the bottom. Then you continue this for the entire test. So after you pick a new position, you start over. The color-coded message works like the following. So a misread of 0.1 or less gives you blue. That's the precision you'd get if you simply use a spirit level to measure. Then between 0.2 and 0.4 you have green. Inside this range you will still make most putts inside 2 meters based on green reading. Then between 0.5 and 0.8 you have yellow, and for a misread of 0.9 or worse you get red, and at this point you will start missing putts from 1 meter as well. And then here at the top you can see how much of the test that you've done, and to make sure that you get the most accurate slope measurements you can get the slope plate, link in the description with more information. Then when you're done you get to this screen. Here you can see your misread tendency, both in direction missing left to right, and then your underread or overread tendency. Then together with the standard deviation, you will see a make rate prediction for a PGA Tour average equivalent 2.5 meter putt. More information about that in the Putt Analyser video. You can also see your average misread. To get more information, you can go to the Putt Stats page by pressing the button on the right. Here you can see a set of 11 tests, which I did over about a 2-week period at the end of this season when I started practicing estimating slope with my feet. And as you can see, it's definitely possible to get better at estimating slope. As you can see, this trend going downwards for the average misread. You can also plot the standard deviation, which has a better correlation with our make rate. Here you can see that started with about 0.6 and to about 0.45 at the end. You can also see the percentage of green or blue reads and the percentage of red reads. At the top you can also change which test that you see. And if you swipe to right, you get a table with even more data. If you look at the column at the left, you can see that the data is divided into amount of slope, slope direction, and total. Then you have your tendency, standard deviation, average, and at the far right your sample size. One thing to keep in mind about the sample size is if you have a small number, you shouldn't put too much emphasis on the same numbers in that row. From this table, the standard deviation and the tendency is then used to generate this make rate prediction. And here you can see how this make rate changes for different putts with different slopes and elevation stuff. And lastly, you can see with the toggle button in the middle that you can change to see tests done with the visual method, and then also see a list of all the tests that you've done. And if you want to know more information about a specific test, you can press the info button, and you will also see the standard deviation and the color division for that test. That was everything for this video. See you in the next.